I can imagine if somebody is moving just to move, I think they would probably have a big tough time. Definitely, also to add layoff related stuff, like when you talk about budgets, it's probably also affects other departments more, like UX writing, research, and anything else that you might have had motion. Fortunately, also to add layoff.
Hi everyone, I am Priyanshi and welcome to the very first episode of UX Beyond Boundaries. Yes, so this podcast has actually been sitting with me for a while. I recorded this conversation almost 6 months ago. And so much changed since then, like my job, my work, the place and everything. But one thing that didn't change was the reason I wanted to start this. When I was trying to understand what it really takes to move abroad as a designer, I couldn't find honest, real conversations anywhere. Not tutorials on and how to guides, just like real people sharing their own actual journey. So I thought, why not start something myself? If I am searching, others might too. So today's episode is with Aditya Aserkar, who now works in Germany. We spoke about his UX journey, moving abroad, portfolios, and small things no one tells you, but everyone should know. So it's simple, candid conversation, the kind I wish someone had shared with me when I was searching for the answers. And you will definitely see these kind of episodes more. So thank you for being here for the very first episode. Let's get started. So basically, there's a lot of information floating around, some true and some not so much. And today's conversation is about cutting through that noise, sharing the real story, and giving you the advice, practical advice without the sugarcoating. And that's why I am really excited to have Aditya Aserkar here with me. So, hi Aditya, how are you?
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm doing good. Finally, as you know, in Europe, slowly the sun is going up, so it's always a nice time. Yeah.
Let me tell you, Aditya has joined from Germany, and I give a little bit about I tell about himself. Him is that he has actually moved from India to Germany 6 years back as a UX designer, and now he's here to share all the journey, setbacks, and everything that is going on currently. So we'll just start, and with you, Aditya, I would like to ask first question, which is how did you get into UX and when did the idea of moving abroad came to you?
So I think for me, the moving into UX was something that happened organically. I think so. I did my engineering just like probably like everybody in India, and then after that, I spoke to a friend of mine. He kind of knows who I am, what my likes and dislikes were, and then he was like, "Yeah, you should join this. You should apply for this college called NID." And me coming from like an engineer doctor family, no, we had nobody knew about this, and then I had no idea if it's like if it was well known to begin with. But anyway, so I gave some entrance and all of that, and then I got into the university, the college, and that's how I got in the whole design world. Naturally, I myself and the whole family also has been interested in things to do with art and design in that perspective, but obviously not like as a livelihood basically. And I just entered into design that way. That design was something called new media design. It's one of the most fantastic courses that I have ever seen, actually, compared now that I compare it to other courses in other parts of the world also. I think it's quite really nice. It's like this amalgamation of product and philosophy, and you like. I think it's to do with user centricity in general in everything that you touch, and not necessarily interfaces and anything like that. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. I think the tagline is like the to examine the effect of technology on mankind or humankind, and it's quite interesting. And that's how I moved into design. I was for a while into product design. I also like to build my own things like furniture or home decor or things like that. And then gradually I had to pay off the NID loan. So
Okay.
I ended up taking a job which paid more at the time. It just happened to be UX, and I think yeah, then it just went from there ahead.
Okay, so like as you said that it was very organically that you moved from um, India to Germany. So when was it, and how has it been the whole journey? Moving to Germany and the culture and settling there, things like that.
Yes, so I did work in India also actually for a few years, and I was working also in bigger companies. I'm not sure if we are taking names of companies now anymore or however it is, but anyway, so I had been practicing UX for a little while, and I was also yeah, I used to travel to Europe quite often on like my personal visits,
Okay.
and then I think I don't know. Maybe in India we are more taught more about like the Western philosophies and the architecture patterns of the West and things like that. So there was always this I wouldn't call it fascination, but there was this intrigue to go and see how these things function, how these things are, why are there bazillion German philosophers, what makes that language so profound that there are so many like thought leaders in this particular country and particular region. So that way I was interested. Not interested immediately to move, but like it was always at the back of my mind that okay, this is a fascinating place on the planet. It's like the smelting pot of cultures, this and that. Obviously, India is also like that in almost similar but slightly different ways. Um, yeah, and then I just was moved. Yeah, for me, moving from that's what the thing is. If I don't take the names of the companies, it's a bit tricky to for anybody else who's listening to associate how this move can happen. But basically, I moved from
I
the same
guess there
domain.
is no problem because people will visit your, LinkedIn and everything.
Probably.
So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I was working at Philips, and that was a healthcare department. I mean, healthcare for Philips, and looking at the same kind of products. It might be medical records or imaging or things like that. And then I moved to Siemens, which is now headquartered at in Germany, and the profile and the role was the same. So it was like a cross hire perspective from the company side. So it's like I think that's why my experience cannot be overlaid onto anybody else's experience, because for me it was quite straightforward given this cross modality move. I can imagine if somebody is moving just to move, I think they would probably have a big tough time.
So my next question to you, like it's been now 6 years, if I'm right, while you are living in Germany, right? Yeah. So
Yes, almost.
yeah. Okay. So from your perspective, how has the situation changed for UX designers currently? Like like some kind of realities that people dreaming of working abroad need to understand today.
I think for me, what is the most crucial distinction that people seem to forget, or maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I have been correlating job and life so much, and then after coming here, they are so two distinct entities of basically life that your job is just one contributing factor to it. I think that is very different. So for me, like the if people are trying to move or if people are planning to move and things like that, I would it's probably like extending my neck, but it's probably to say that it's your job is irrelevant actually to the move itself. It's mostly to do with what kind of life you want to have, and then a job is like a byproduct, not a byproduct, but like a means to sustain that livelihood. So I don't think um, how UX has shaped or how UX has changed is actually the contributing factor to your decision to move. I mean that question still stands, but I would just like to say that that shouldn't be a contributing factor for your decision to move. If you have decided, then you have decided. It's nothing to do with the UX or whatever it is. But in any case, yeah. Sorry, you have.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to know that when you said that your job is like irrelevant in that particular, like, can you explain a little bit more about it? Like, what does it mean when you're saying that?
I
Yeah.
mean to say,
Yeah, please.
I think I mean to say that when you're moving from, let's say, India or any Asian place to this part of the world, or just moving from anywhere to anywhere, I think uh, the changes in life are way profound to do anything with the job, and therefore the job becomes so you can see that the job is a contributing factor and it's not the purpose of move. I mean, that's what basically my point is. A lot of people can also focus on it as a purpose of move, like how I did it, but I think you should look at the repercussions of moving itself. What I then mean by that is, I think people should really understand which city they're moving to, which country they're moving to, what part of social circle they will end up being in, their own likes and dislikes, their own value systems, their own ability to create social circles around them, their own ability to create life basically around them. I don't think you can. I mean, I don't know the target audience for this, but I don't think you can move directly from, let's say, living with your parents to just living outside like that without having, or you should. Of course, you can do anything that you want, but you need to have had some real life experience. Otherwise, this real life experience might become very overwhelming very easily. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make, that the job is one contributing factor to this change, but um, it's not the sole intention of moving. The intention of moving is that, okay, I want to have that life. Maybe you want to breathe better air, or maybe you just want to have your tax money worth, and you can see that, okay, I'm paying 40-45% and the streets are clean or whatever it is. So those kind of things I think is the contributing factor. But obviously UX has changed in this whole time. But yeah,
So, see, the thing is that whenever, designers like UX or any other field, people normally want to explore new market, want to learn new cultures, and about people. Obviously, there is some bit of that, because even while you are in any kind of design field, there is some kind of psychology connected where you want to learn and everything. But what is actually the market there? Because once, when people actually search about it, even I myself was searching about it, and there are so many videos and things like those available, lot of advice which doesn't match reality, because as in India we are living, we don't know what's actually going on there, what kind of skills or mindset designer or any people should have while they are moving. One is definitely, you said that it shouldn't be only the job thing and other things that need to be considered, but yeah, the actual what is going on, and what kind of assumptions that people should aim while they have to move, because somewhere itself, like if they move, they definitely want to explore more things, but they also want to have something to work upon and things like that.
I think it's not very different over here. Some aspects are not very different here. So, for example, a lot of aspects that revolve around whether you're working on a B2B company, whether you're working on a consulting company, whether you're working on this or that, a product company or a service SaaS product, whatever. So all of those layers obviously also apply here. So I think then you might need to see where you stand over there. Are you a product person? Are you some consulting? Are you like better off in terms of pitching ideas? And then, you know, I think that outlook is the same. So if you're working in India for any of these kind of service design or whatever it might have been, then it's probably here also. Obviously, what completely changes here is that you have a lot more. Basically, it's like the world here. So it's every type of people are here, and you will get inputs from all kinds of people. You will understand from design lens. You will understand biases of different cultures. You will just basically get to know more and more people, while you will also still be designing for all of these people already. If you're in India, let's say if you're in like companies which affect everybody, Google, Microsoft or whatever, you would still already take these into account, but they will probably not affect your work, day to day work. And
Okay.
naturally, what everybody says is the work-life balance is probably better in Europe, Germany also naturally. Personally, for me, it's the same. It's not been different because I never had a bad work life in India, but I've seen people working and being called for at 10 o'clock or in the night or whatever it is. But thankfully, I've had really great people around me, and that was not a thing. So for me, that comparison doesn't exist. But for a lot of people who think that, oh no, this is just too intrusive, micromanagerial, etc., etc., then maybe for them, they will probably not see that as much in Europe, hopefully. And I
Okay.
think one more point that is happening now, but this is probably post-COVID, is that everybody is also trying to get remote jobs, and therefore it seems to be that there are less motivations for people to hire where they are from. So you could potentially still be in India and get a job which runs on European companies and things like that. I don't know how that is going to pan out like in a longer time scale, but it's clearly been that way since COVID, and people have already moved at different places. So maybe companies are finding it a more difficult to hire people where the companies themselves are located. And it's also, I think, getting detached. Obviously, I'm not saying this is good or bad. There's no value association to it, but that is what is. So.
Yeah, but actually, the currently what is going on, at least in India, companies is calling back all the employees. Like the work from home
Yes.
culture is actually getting, it's not
Yeah.
currently followed, and people are, calling all the employees. So is it not the same for there?
It is. It is the same. I don't think it will ever reach to working 100% of the time in the office, but yeah, I think that is something a bit different for Europe
Hmm.
um, because, for example, I think in India it's a very highly city-centric country, and the inequality that exists if you don't live in the city is just too dramatic. So you could say that okay, you don't have electricity in your wherever you. So basically, it's very less impetus for people to move outside the city anyway. So if you're already in the city, you just need to come to the office. Here, what happens is that if people move, there is a lot of resistance for people, like logistical resistance to move back to the companies, to the city of the companies. And then there's also, I think, yeah, I don't know. I think gradually, I mean, of course, that's probably the motivation of the company to have all of their people back in there. I don't know how and when that happens, but it's gradually happening everywhere. I think the core premise is also that we in India we are culturally extremely different. So you are friends with your colleagues, you meet them even even after having a late bad day at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you still go out for drinks and stuff. That is almost normally non-existent in Europe. So again, that's like my experience. It might be true for other people outside, but it's not so much. Obviously, not as much as India. So I think that's the reason why in India you could say that if you go to the office, you will have more people, you'll have more contributions in terms of socially, like getting along with other people. And here, that that particular parameter is much lesser. So maybe that's perhaps why people still try to stay away from the office, I guess.
Okay.
But it is increasing, I mean, obviously. And I
Hmm.
personally also like to go to the office. I think, I mean, this probably comes through a later part, but if you, for sure, if you want to grow in your career in any case, in any form or factor, then it is inevitable, and you should, of course, go to the office as regularly as possible. You try to influence, try to see where all, yeah, your work can influence.
Yeah. So, okay, I just want to know like you have been working for 6 years. So, how has your job role changed from where it started, and what is it that you're currently working upon?
So I think initially, I mean, anyway, I was not in UX. So
Hmm.
when I was not in UX, it was yeah, the product related things. And I think what has happened in the within the UX, for me, or I don't know, I think it depends upon temperament. So I am somebody who likes to connect different things of different parts of the organization, or also what is happening outside in real world. I am not like I see more value of design as a discipline in that point, and so to say less, not shouldn't say less, but whatever, let's say less value in just making the designs in terms of execution. And clearly now this post AI, post skill era that we are living in, all of this is kind of still irrelevant, I think, or will be relevant real soon. You can just check out Dribble and get 50,000 responses. But how your company works is only you know. So there is nobody else who knows the legal intricacies, who knows the business metrics, blah blah blah, compared to yeah, from an outsider perspective. So for me, that has been the growth trajectory, to know how everything that we do affects any metric that you're considering. So at this point in time, not at this point in time, but since like a couple of years, I can easily say that every single thing on the product that I'm working on is then gone on through my desk, basically, in some ways. And everything basically that you see live now is hopefully good things, is all done by me or like people who are around, but basically I have had a say or a review in that. I've also had few, I've also had the opportunity to have a people have some people um, kind of, to delegate tasks to, or to basically see and manage some output and things like that. So I think that has also been a good thing. uh, it depends upon what people want to do. If you want to be this kind of a people person, or you want to be individual contributor, I think both are really nice trajectories. But I think everybody should try like whatever is there basically, and then figure out into one thing. So that move is there for sure. I've also oscillated between different kinds of users. So this is probably actually for the first time I'm making stuff for B2C customers, like C
Okay.
meaning like basically everybody. Historically, I've been with B2B products, or in terms of healthcare, it was mostly doctors or clinicians or nurses or things like that. So it was always a very hyper specific user group. And now it's basically a user group who can be anybody, who can, culturally be anybody, speak any language and things like that. So I think that has been my difference of moving. I really wanted to enter this B2C part of it because I was opposed to it for such a long time.
Okay.
I was also opposed to UX design. I think everybody coming from product design were like, hey, UX is all, crap. But only after you get into it, you realize how everything can be intricate and everything can be very nuanced and nice also. And I think that's what I did for UX, and now that's probably what I'm doing for B2C customer facing applications.
Okay. So let's talk about the market. Like in India, also, as you might know, that it's currently the market is tough for UX as parlayed by everyone, and when you see in the videos and things like that. What about there? Like what you see there, you might have seen people in your company working, and about the hiring things, that how it goes and what are the criteria, what is the market there. In India it is currently, the situation and the user might be, but what about there?
Yeah. I think these things are not India specific naturally, because it's not like India is running in some bubble. Actually, it would be good if that was the case. But it's all trickle down. So first it happens in the US, then it flows through Europe, and then it flows through India, or things something like that. So naturally, it's has been the same here. I think again that's my tying to my first point, is depends upon what the country does, or what the country is there for you to do. For example, so Germany, as an example, is this has welfare system, for example. So even if you are laid off from your company, then you have those things to bank onto, because you've paid basically what 40% of your income for the last so many years. So you should be in a position to get something in return also, if you have contributed to the country. And I think that is very different. So even compared to India, so um, and then there's also a lot of legal ways that companies are not outright allowed to fire people unless and until they show some things. But of course, that does happen. I think that's quite evident and quite rampant now here also in Europe. But the point that I made earlier is that there is a safety net. So there is some people where people can have a cushion on and not to just fall into the abyss after losing a job. A lot of people I've seen in India, they buy a house and etc. And then if they get laid off, and then they have nowhere to go, and you're in a bad situation. Maybe you just had children or whatever. That's like just unbelievable. Obviously, it is also unbelievable here, but like I said, there is some social net where hopefully the country tries to keep you afloat in some ways.
Okay.
But the market is, I think, difficult everywhere. So I
Mm-hmm.
think coming to the UX specific market,
Mm-hmm.
I think what has happened is it seems like I don't know. I think it's probably a transitionary phase or something like that. There's a lot of people who are applying for jobs everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and there is almost nobody reading reading those job applications. So I think if anybody wants or if anybody is applying for jobs right now, it would be the best to actually just reach out to the team members and the hiring manager or whatever. I really think that the apply button on LinkedIn is probably extinct. I think that's just not a thing anymore. Even when I used to hire for I used to review like candidates' applications. There used to be so many applications, and yeah, I think it's really skewed. A lot of times you may or may not be in sync with the HR also. You may or may not have a role meaning like a task defined, like what kind of people to hire. Somebody might try to grow the team, but then the growth of team it really depends upon how many junior, how many senior, and I think all of that is very tricky to manage in this current chaotic situation where budgets are being cut for different things. Unfortunately, also to add layoff related stuff, like when you talk about budgets, it's probably also affects other departments more, like UX writing, research, and anything else that you might have had. I don't know what people might have. But naturally, therefore, people are looking for somebody who is like all in, who can do all of it, or who can at least manage all things. And I think that is how, at least that's been my role actually, and that's how I think things are moving ahead. So you need to be aware of how different things function, and then if you need some resources, then you go and get that resource. So, for example, if you need some research for some feature or product you're working on, then you do it yourself, or you just hire somebody to do it for 1 month, 3 months contractually or something like that. Same also goes for like UI related design. Same also goes for writing or building a narrative or storyline or whatever it is. So I think the role that will get more power is this kind of a role. I don't know how it's called, senior or lead or
Yeah, I guess
something like that.
adding on to
But
that,
it's
sorry. Yeah, please.
yeah.
I guess adding on to that, so basically, I once heard like Don Norman also saying that you don't designers shouldn't confine themselves in the area of like designing. That okay, I only do design. We need more designers, people who can actually think like a business, like a leader, because that's how you actually go forward. You actually grow yourself as well as the company which you are working with.
Yeah, for sure. I think there is no other way. I mean, there should also be no other way. Why should
Yeah.
somebody just be okay with hiring you if you're just able to change the color of a button? That doesn't make any sense.
Yes. Right.
So I would also not vouch for that. So I think I mean, since I didn't study UX in like as a study thing, so I don't know what is being taught in these courses. But I really hope that they do teach much more of, let's say, project management, stakeholder management, and again, like coming up with product visions, seeing how businesses sub products function with each other, and things like that. So I think that is quite crucial. So, for example, for Sixt or any company actually, but for Sixt, you should know how rental is working with ridership, how it is working with share, and so on and so forth for you to pitch something. I think I've always said that if you want to see the chaos in a company, just open the settings of that particular app, and then you will see the teams which basically don't talk to each other because everybody has their own account setting. And yeah, okay, this team doesn't talk because they have two different account settings. And so you clearly see through how the company structure works if you just open the settings panel. But yeah, and that's the job of the design team to fix, because hopefully if the design has a seat on the table, then hopefully they are the ones who are like across the team, and they are the one who can see, and hopefully if good leadership exists, then they can fill gaps between whatever might be present in the other teams.
Yeah, for sure. So you talked about like, hiring and, like lot of job applications come from LinkedIn. So you are into hiring, like you also, applications might be coming to you also. So what you look once you are, some application has came, is there something that you are particularly looking in that particular CV? Because even people might be reaching to you is not one or two or more than like more people. So how you sort from them?
I mean, yeah, I mean, naturally, I don't, I'm not, we're not, I think nobody's hiring at the moment, unfortunately, and so
Okay.
neither am I, and neither is my team, nobody. But this has happened in the past. But I think there are some criteria that comes from the company, and there are some criteria that come from you. Criteria such as like the first round of HR basically is before anything to do with design. They will see what is the expectation, where does this person live. If the company is, as we spoke earlier, if the company is trying to move towards people coming in the office, then would hiring this new candidate make sense? You should remember, hiring a person is extremely expensive for a company, extremely. So if they are doing that, they are investing a lot of time and money on you in terms of resources. Even after you hire, probably for 6 months, your output is nothing in some ways. So I think that is really expensive for the company to do. And
Okay.
yeah, and from perspective of actually hiring, I think most likely it is about how there are two things. One important thing is, like I said, if the person knows about or has demonstrated some way in which they understand business, basically. How are you affecting the metrics of, or at least forget about how, if you are or not, but are you aware of how that happens? So if you move, let's say, your, I don't know what, like a 5 page booking journey into a single page thing. If you remove your, if you just remove or cross, I'm talking about e-commerce now suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Okay.
you add more avenues for customer touch points, if you add more places where you can cross-sell things like that, how does it affect the revenue metrics? If the candidate knows it or affects it somehow, then obviously that is good. I think naturally a big factor is how that person is in terms of being, because you have to have a relationship with this person for till whenever they're around or whenever you're around. So I think it's really good that it's really important that you are able to have a good communication, open and free with them. So that's probably the thing that happens in the first round. You see how conversational they are and think open they are to feedback or things like that.
Okay. I guess
And I
yeah.
think I would like to also say, because I remember this distinctly. I think a majority of people. I think some of them were also Indians who I was looking at. They I think maybe I also might have done it. They are just selling the product. So if you're working on in a company, let's say you're working on at Flipkart, and then you just say that I made this booking funnel, then I made filter, then we need these filters for different products. So they were just selling like the filter panel of Flipkart itself.
Okay.
But I don't care about what the company has done. If I'm hiring you, I need to care about how you contributed to it and how you felt, and how is the metric around this output. For me, it doesn't matter, like, from a company perspective. So they have to sell themselves. They don't have to sell the company, or they don't have to sell the product. I don't care. So they shouldn't tell me in a very like a trickle down words. They don't need to convince me to buy from Flipkart. That's not their job. in an interview. Their
Right.
job is to just sell their portfolio or their thing. A lot of times people end up being like, oh no, but we have done this, and our competitor, they show competitor analysis of what other companies. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you did that is important, but I am not supposed to be sold, Flipkart or whatever company might have been. So that is something quite crucial. People be like, oh, but I did for this company, and that's why this revenue went up. But as a hiring person, you don't care about that at all. You care about what the person can contribute.
So can you give one like distinct in like example of something, like how can someone show like what they did? If I am telling you like I am in this company, and like how should I show or present myself where I can actually show you what I contributed instead of what I did for the company, and how that particular whole flow changed some kind of revenue kind of thing. Because what I understood, because I have also looking into CVs and things like that, people are actually following the same thing. This is something new that I got to know from you, and it actually makes sense. So can you give a example of that, just for the people to actually quite
I mean,
understand it?
yeah, I mean, I can give example, or I can at least talk about it, but I don't know what is right or wrong. I mean, there is no right or wrong.
Yes.
The problem or the caveat is based on what the other person is looking at. Now, even if I said all of these things, if the hiring manager is wanting to only have people who will just move buttons here and there,
Hmm.
then they don't care about all of this. So whatever I said is kind of inconsequential in that way. So I think it depends upon where you are applying for, and that's the whole purpose why people say that you should kind of tweak your presentation for each application, and that's exactly the reason why it is so true. I would say that you should have, or one should have, different kinds of things presented. One should have a project, in my opinion. Again, this is like like no result driven opinion.
Okay.
So, uh, so one should have a project with a lot of constraints. Let's say where the project has come from somewhere else, and then you executed it. From an execution perspective, one should have one project which is, in my opinion, like a vision project which shows which shows the hiring person of how you think about connecting different aspects of product, business, technology, and this and that. Then you might have one research heavy um, project. So the resultant can be anything. The resultant can be like, okay, we did all of this research for 3 months and it was inconclusive, and it went into, like, we didn't use it. It's totally fine. But I think this one is like this research project, and one, in my opinion, if you're looking for some senior role or something like that, I think to do with this planning, metric, and delegation and things like that, and strategies. So strategies can be content strategy or release cycle, or, like, how do you release and when do you want to release this feature before that or that before this? How does it affect the tech timelines and things like that? But that is probably tricky to say, because if you are not presenting, if somebody is just reading these things, it is extremely difficult. So I would just say the first three, and then you can just say, hey, I'm looking for a design system. So I worked on this design system, and then just paste it there. And then I worked on whatever a vision thingy, then you would just paste it there. So if the hiring person is looking at without you, basically that's what they would normally do, and they have a clear path to go through these different kinds of projects. So I think these things should be there. I don't know if I answered it correctly, but
Yeah, yeah,
probably.
definitely. I mean, this is something that I totally agree that you should look for the job guidelines that is there, and what people are actually looking for. But even like if most of them, what I saw here is that people definitely have moved on where they are now including the metrics or revenue, that what they did in the company or what kind of design they implemented and how it moved. But it's again like you said that they are actually telling about the company, not about their own uh, contribution. So
Yeah.
it's a very fine line, but
I
yeah.
mean, it depends upon if you have, but if you have, yeah, again, if you are like in a lead or a senior position, then the company metric is also technically your, in some ways, your metric. Now, if you are not that, then yeah, then it's probably a bit tricky. But then you will work on some feature. It can be
Right.
anything small. Like I said, the earlier part about filter, like an example of filters for Flipkart or something like that, then you can say, okay, we saw these many people using this filter these many times, and that's therefore we made some different sorting arrangements and this and that, and now we see less number of people being there. I mean, you can bring out those heat maps and stuff like that. You're like, okay, people are spending less time on this, people are spending more time on this part where the products are there, and then since they're spending more time here, we can also cross sell them with something else. People who bought this also bought this, and that, all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
now you're moving people's eyesight from this part where they were doing it earlier, like they were having price filter slider, one euro or whatever, 10
Yeah.
rupee, 10 rupee, which is irrelevant
Yeah.
for something if you're buying like a laptop or something, and then you made something like that. So I think these kind of, even if it's, see, now whatever, this example is a very tiny cocooned example which sits in a very tiny space of the entire booking journey. You
Yes.
might have other atrocious problems with payment, that gateway related issues, your card, I don't know what can happen, like anything can happen. But then you choose to focus on this problem because you worked on it for like a month or two or like a week or whatever it is, and then you just present that. I think, I mean, I also make this mistake quite a few times, that I try to present the whole thing, where you think that, yeah, but I thought of the whole thing, so why should I not show the whole thing? And the point is that then it might get lost in thoughts, and then the end result is not conveyed at all. So you might as well take out some smaller chunks of the whole thing, and then yeah, deconstruct it that way.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to know. And honestly, actually, I am done with the questions. The questions that were actually the serious type. Is there something that you want to suggest, or you think that we might not have covered, or you want to
I
share?
mean, if you talk about the objective of the talk, then I can add more things to it. So if I think, but again, like I started off talking, oh, this is moving so much. I think if you like UX beyond borders and things like that, you need to know, either not you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the person who's applying for these things needs to know if if the UX is the point, or if the borders is the point, and things like that. I think that is the game-changing part of it, and I think that's where the focus should be. I think I also wrote an article around it some time back. Maybe I should continue doing those things, but that's what my point was. That there are so many people who will tell you how to do things, about how to make the best portfolio, how to make the most fancy animation happening in Framer and then present it and stuff like that. And I also would do that naturally, but that is, in my opinion, not the point. The point is why, and the why is really crucial. Naturally, a lot of times I think there's like places like India or Southeast Asia or any of these places might have more problems. Not the advanced places probably, but a lot of unequal places like ours. There are naturally, therefore, there are more problems to be solved, more opportunities for design as a discipline to enter, and yeah, so I think it depends upon what the person's focus is. If the person's focus is UX, then you can have a different answer. And UX also doesn't naturally mean screen based interfaces,
Yes.
it can be just anything, right? And now I think the more and more we are trying to move as a civilization, probably away from this gaze of the screen, there will be more and more avenues. Like, it was not like when we grew up, at least when I grew up, there was obviously no such thing. Like, these jobs are created, and then since they are created in your lifetime, they can also be destroyed in your own lifetimes. So there was no, obviously that's the reason why my parents had no idea about oh, what is UX. I mean, they still don't know, but I think that's the point. So just because has is there now doesn't mean it will be there later, which then means that the point of your decision is not necessarily UX. It's probably design or problem solving as a mental approach. And then the other part is obviously borders. Are you somebody who wants to move out for XYZ reasons, and then you focus on that? Everybody might have different reasons, and
Yeah.
everybody would have different impetus of getting things done. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, that totally makes sense. Um, okay, so I guess we are just at the end of our episode, Aditya, and it was
Yes.
really great. Like we talked about the reality that's going on, your roles, and what is actually the job market and things like that. Um, Before ending, I just want to have like, can we have like rapid fire round where no thinking is allowed, just for fun and just 5 questions. Are you ready?
Wait a minute. Is our whole character trait not built on overthinking? I think that's what designers do, and now you're asking them to not think. It's just so
Yeah, but
counterintuitive.
you should always try a different character to know that, and it's all about exploring as well in design, right?
Oh God, yes, yes, that's true.
Okay,
Maybe I
I
should wear my different hat. Yeah, go ahead.
okay again. Your first question is one UX skill you think everyone overhypes.
Overhypes.
Yes.
I think in my, unfortunately in my eyes it's UI. I think UI is given way too much more importance.
Okay.
That's probably because I think the business looks at UI more than UX, and I think that's a problem.
Yeah, that is, I guess, the front that comes. Everyone sees that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So your next question is one product you can't live without.
Like physical product or digital product?
Anything. Like one thing that needs to be there with you every time, or you can't live without it.
I mean, it is naturally a phone. I mean, what else to do? But I would like to say my music instruments. Actually, one of my music instruments has been across all continents. Obviously, not in some impossible continents,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been with me everywhere. So,
Okay. Yeah, I
naturally,
saw.
unfortunately, the first is a phone, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw your like profile where you play a lot like that. You were into the music in India, or you just started something that you when you shifted there.
No, no, no. Unfortunately I didn't get to learn any music like from like learning. I went for a class for guitar only for a month. But then I think I was inclined to music as like from an inclination perspective, so I
Mm-hmm.
just picked up everything. And now I basically have all kinds of instruments at my house. And I also had them in Bangalore. I
Okay.
used to live in this really fancy three-storied duplex, triplex, I don't know how that's called, in Indranagar. And we used to host music sessions and
Oh.
jam sessions and things like that. It was part of these. I was also there in this so far. I think that was the time when it was all coming up. So far music, and then these lahe lahe and all of those areas. I don't know how much you are aware, but there will be other people who are aware. So yeah, I really like that. I think music for me or anybody is probably the easiest way to socially make friends and things like that.
True.
And it's also gives you very calm vibes if you're alone. So I think it works on both sides. If you are with a lot of people, it's perfect. If you're alone, it's perfect. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So your next question is, if you weren't in design, what would you be doing?
I think this is a very straightforward answer. I would be in urban design. Wait a minute, that's design still,
Yeah.
but it's urban design. So for me,
Okay.
public policy making, I think I should tweak it a little bit. I was also already doing that in India also, and in some sense here. Yeah, public policy for sure, 100%. I think these
That.
are two different things. The objective is to apply. So if you look at small arrangements applying for large masses of population, I think that's a really powerful thing to do. And basically, that's politics. And but from an implementation perspective, I think that's really crucial and really nice.
That's quite different that I heard from you. I mean, it actually is interesting.
I don't know. I don't think that's different. I think it's quite. But that's exactly what I meant earlier in terms of user experience. I'll tell you how it started. If I can just take more time,
Yeah, yeah, please.
I think okay. We have I think 8 minutes only. So I think how it started was I in when I was in India. Sorry, when I was in Mumbai, I had to. I was just gonna say Bombay, and I was like, oh god, I don't know what happened. Okay, when I was in Mumbai, I've been there forever. So I had to go to my college, my engineering college, which was at some place in Bandra, and then we did not have a bus service for. There is no train that goes from where I lived and from Chembur to Bandra. You had to change, and I was just not a person who would go in that crowded place, a crowded train. So I collected a few, not a few, some signatures of potential people who would use if a bus service started, and I submitted it to the BEST at that time. And
Oh,
then they started this bus as a trial bus service 373, and now it became 473. It's been now I think 10 15 years, or probably how many years it's been. Yeah, it's probably been 10 15 years that the bus is still running. So
oh,
they had started three
wow.
buses like this for as an experiment, and one had good footfall, and then they continued it. So it used to leave from my doorstep to my engineering doorstep, and basically that's when I was like, wait a minute, and I had no clue about design or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that was like, okay, wait a minute, I just changed lives of all of these people who is now using this bus, and basically that translated into doing this kind of things for cities. And I was also doing the same thing for Bangalore when I was there. Naturally, it was a bit difficult given the language barrier, even though I mean I would want to or try to learn Kannada as I do German here, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was looking at the HSR part where I used to live earlier, Indranagar. Then I didn't do the bus thing, but in HSR, then I was giving like taking surveys from people at sabzi walas and everywhere, putting QR codes. Oh, where do you go? Where do you want to? Would you take a bus service? Where would the stops be? I also reached out to so that's actually where exactly the intersection of technology and digital UX applications and stuff like that. So you reach out to, let's say, Ola or somebody like that, and then you see where they have the maximum number of pickup points if there is a share, Ola share or something like that. So now that is a potential for a bus stop,
True.
naturally. So now you take this information and then you go to the city and then you tell, hey, HSR in front of NIFT, for example, you have 50 people who are booking car in the period of 1 hour from 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. And then that gets kind of a confirmed footfall for people to go somewhere. So then I made something like that. Anyway, so my point is that you cannot think of, or you shouldn't think of UX or any of these things as digital things, because the point is user experience, and then you are also a
Yeah.
user when you're using these resources. Yeah, so that's how I have liked this part. I was also used to quite be active in this IHS in also in Bangalore Human Settlement Institute. So yeah, I don't know. It's my yeah my soft
That
spot.
was
Sometime
really
I think I would go
pretty,
back to.
like, pretty amazing story. I mean, I'm glad that I asked this question so that we got to know about this story. I
No,
mean, I'm amazed myself,
it's true.
really. That was really great.
But then I'll tell you the problem with this. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you the problem with this. I mean, the problem with now connecting it to this podcast is that you will not be allowed to do any of this in Europe, basically, because this point about leeway, I think this somehow comes under the word jugad, basically,
Yeah.
that you just reach out to this, because here also I try to do the same for the buses and things like that. I was like, oh, why are these two three buses going at the same place at the same time, and then there is no bus for half an hour, for example. And then they were like, yeah, but that's not your problem. You do yours. We have people for this. I'm like, yeah, but they're not to. So I think in a rule-based society such as this, they have very strong barricades, mental or like actual logistical barricades for people to move from one to the other. So it is almost impossible, if not unlikely, that you can affect something like that.
And I
Okay.
think that's where the plus point of India or India-like societies, which are more malleable, free-flowing, and open, where they can use, like if somebody is like that, then they can use that over there. Here you have to go through a lot of loopholes, a lot of bureaucratic processes to do something like that. You can't just recommend something to somebody and then they start doing it. It's also, everything is also very expensive. So it's not that they can just start a bus service and see how it goes. If
Yeah.
they need some this budget, that budget, or something. The same thing is also true if you want to do your own business.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to do this woodworking. I think I mentioned in
Yeah.
the middle. So something like that. If you want to start, you're not allowed to make sound here. You are obviously not allowed to sell anything, by the way, if you don't have a selling permit. So that's very different from India, and that's what I meant earlier when I said UX was beyond borders. Is that what is your core premise where you want to operate? If you want to operate at some place where you are allowed to experiment with all of these things, then you have to see where you're coming, because if you are wanting to sell, let's say you make something and start selling it, that is most likely I mean for sure illegal, but it's most likely also frowned upon to do that. Even if you move to Europe, and I've seen a lot of people move, and then they move their spouse, and then the spouse tries to make like this tiffin service things, and other fellow Indians also then call the city council, and they're like, hey, this person is doing this illegal business.
Oh.
So it's the whole situation is very 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 different. In India, nobody would bother if you just start a dosa counter anywhere on the street. I mean, it will be bothersome in its own entity. So if you are, let's say, causing food poisoning to people, you will somehow be out of the market. Either you will be out legally, or you will be out illegally, but you will be allowed to experiment.
Yes.
And that allowing to experiment, I think, is not a thing here, or it's very less here. I shouldn't say
Correct.
not, but it's very less here. And therefore, in my opinion, therefore you see extremely less number of companies in Europe which change the world, basically, right? I think
Hmm.
you cannot name any which started here which has changed the world like the companies do in
Yeah.
US. I think that's the core difference. The scope of experimentation is very less. Like unless you're certain to do it, and then only then you do it. And that's also why it results into really good products. If you go to Siemens or Bosch or any of these kind of companies, they will have extremely good product quality and products, because they know and they've committed to whatever they're doing so much and so well. But then the experimentation bar is the problem. So
Hmm.
if your product is subpar, then you are either not allowed. If it's illegal, then you're anyway not allowed and things like that. Yeah, I think this is a lot of lot of different tangents in the same point. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Totally agree. So, okay, now as you have lived in India as well as in the Germany, so last question is quite interesting. So
oh God, no, please don't.
Germany or India for street food?
Street food. What is that? How is that even a question? Street food is there is no street food here. There is no street
Okay.
here. No, no, it is India for sure. There is no other way. Unless I start a street food chain here in Europe, then my answer will change.
Yeah, but it's pretty hard as you said, so it'll take some time, I guess.
No, no, yeah, yeah, I've been trying that now since a few years. So now it's been in my head, and
Okay.
it's a thing for me to do. And I've asked permissions from the city, blah blah blah, hygiene thing, blah this and that, whatever, whatever. Hard to do doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So I
Yeah,
think,
that's
yeah. So hopefully sometime I can say that Germany has good street food.
and hopefully
Unlikely, but
sometimes
whatever.
if any one of us comes there, we can actually have that street food there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Sure, yeah.
Oh.
If not that, I have pani puri sessions monthly at my place, and we could have that.
Oh, that's great. At least something that is loved by
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
all Indians. Like that's great.
Yes, yes.
How the people of Germany liking that pani puri?
Oh, they are. I think Germans are really, really open to different kind of experiences. I think, in my opinion, they are one of the most open compared to other parts of other like other countries in Europe. I mean, maybe because I know them more,
Mm-hmm.
but they are extremely well aware of the world, and they are very curious about the world, and they will want to try. They might not like things naturally, but that's true for anybody. but they are really curious and intrigued by how the whole world works and all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
they
So
like it.
that was really great. All the conversation we had, your advice and everything. Thank you so much for that. And is there anything you want to add at the
That's it.
last? If it's something that might be going on in your mind, or you want to share something like that?
No, no, I think that's fine. But I have a problem where I need to stop talking, so
I
I need to
can
work on
totally
that. That's
understand
my
that.
yeah. I don't believe in it, but apparently that's important. So
Yeah.
fine, I'll do something that I don't believe in. No, no, but it's been good to for giving this opportunity to me. Also, I also wanted to start a podcast way back when I used to live in Bangalore. I had my whole script, my whole people who I will call, topics and everything in place, and it never happened. And then I wish you all the best that you don't let this go and continue. And maybe after a few years, it becomes, or soon actually, it becomes really big. And yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so
my
much.
journey.
Thanks to you because you agreed for this, even like giving a opportunity to a starter, fresher, I would say here, in at least in the podcast thing. And I am sure that even the audience will like the overall conversation that happened about that job abroad, because yeah, people have some kind of dream in their mind and they want to explore the market. At least from this they could get to know about certain things. And for my listeners, if they want to connect with you, I can attach your LinkedIn profile. I hope it's fine. So I'll attach
Yeah,
in the description and you can connect with him. You can read his article that's there in the medium. I'll attach that article as well. And hopefully we'll see more articles from you in upcoming time.
that's why actually,
I guess this
yes,
will also
yes.
put a little pressure on you that people are coming
I
now.
know. I think I have like 67 drafts on my Medium,
Oh,
ranging from everything, ranging from like the extinction of Maki Dal, and then Bombay finally became Mumbai, and things like that. There are so many such drafts. I hope I should get it out there.
yeah, I guess you have to now because people are gonna reach out to you for sure and they are gonna at
Yes.
least search for you. So, and
Yeah.
ChatGPT knows you if I have shared the conversation.
That is very scary, but in a good way at least as of now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you like this particular podcast and if you have any kind of suggestion, please do in the comment. And till that, you just like and share this and suggest whatever if there is any kind of topic you have in your mind. I'll definitely try to bring it out just like this one without sugarcoating and the real advice that is should be there and you should know. So thank you so much, Adit. It was great meeting with you, really, and hope to
Thank you
see
so much.
some
My
more.
pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Yes.